Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 444. We are live tonight, August 23rd. And I'm Lucas. I'm here tonight with Rob.
Hi, I'm Rob, former IP development manager at Hasbro, like everyone on the cast is.
Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter, Forever Destron. I actually brought a lot of great ideas to the fans, to the collectors, to the community, and you can thank me for just about anything you enjoy.
And Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm an honest person.
So fun.
There you go. As we talk about third party here tonight, so
Wink.
yeah. So tonight we're having Rob on. He's finally coming back. It's been a few weeks here, a little while. I enticed him to come on because I was like, oh, we'll talk about some third party here.
Yeah, actually, I listened to the last 2 weeks. I was playing catch up on the podcast, and I found myself commenting to myself the whole time. But so be it. You make the ones you can make.
And Rob is almost always entirely convinced that he's the only person on the cast who collects or cares about third-party figures, which every time we talk about it, he always says something like, I'm like the only one who cares about this. And then all of us are like, we all collect some third-party. What's going on?
You feel like some. I think the problem is I get myopic on the piece that I enjoy, and that's like the predominant thing in third party is the third party masterpiece stuff. It used to be the chug style, and then the masterpiece stuff took over. And so it's hard for me to remember that there is other stuff going on, but none of it still isn't as predominant as the masterpiece stuff. And Peter and I are the only ones that really buy most of it anymore. Like I know every now and again, I think, Christian will go in on like the MMC stuff, right? And I know you'll pick up kind of, random stuff here and there, but like, if you want to just sit and talk third party MP, it's pretty much me and Peter. Other people like to look at it and dabble in it, or they straight up hate it.
I think Rick dabbles in it a little bit here and there. I don't think
it's
like
right.
as, and I think Paul, the other cast members is kind of like, a one-off here or there. Like if there's a Starscream that comes out, Paul probably gets it, but outside of that.
Yeah.
So
I did a lot for a long time because I was really into Legends. I still am into Legends. My problem is I'm out of space, and it's hard for me to spend a decent amount of money when I'm out of space. So I haven't been buying as much third-party stuff, but definitely pretty loyal to MMC and a few other companies.
On that note, Anna, what is the Legend third-party scene like these days? Because we can talk about that because I'm really ignorant. I know it was
before we do that, I kind of want to take a quick step back. So first off, I'm assuming everyone that listens to the show probably knows, but what is third-party?
Well, I wrote a dissertation on it earlier today because I was excited to talk about third party.
I was so passionate.
Third party is people that make products that are obviously meant to be in the Transformers intellectual property, but aren't made by Hasbro or Takara or officially licensed in some way. That like the Super 7 does Transformer stuff, right? But it's not third party. They're licensed. They're allowed to do it. But yeah, it's all that type of stuff. People like to blur the lines with fourth party, which is generally when somebody knockoffs something that Hasbro did, but they make improvements to it. And they call it fourth party because it's not just a straight knockoff. They put some ingenuity, but it obviously is not it's not complete unique engineering either. And then you get cases where a company known for third party then goes and starts trying to do their own thing, and it never lasts long. It never goes well. You know, like Fans Project's Retro Future is probably my favorite of that. And Fan Project had that one guy. Was it Stillcore or was it Stillcore the Subline? And he had the little
Stillcore
chest.
was the one guy.
Okay.
What was it? Function X. Whoa.
Now, Function X was the line of.
The
Well, I mean, maybe
Headmasters.
Headmasters.
you know the stuff mostly done by Jazai, or designs by him. But yeah, and then like Bad Cube did that Nature series or whatever, and they did one thing and nobody bought it. You know.
Nail in the coffin.
Yeah, so it just doesn't generally go too far when they do try to branch out. And then of course Nice was interesting because that started as like your pretty typical third-party things, like, oh, it's an RC homage. It is totally their own thing, but it's obviously an RC homage. And then they got scared over time, and like all the RC was wiped from it, and now it's just its own thing.
Yeah, and what's
So
interesting
it's not really
about
third-party anymore. It's a unique product.
that- See, I
but
do
it's so
disagree
linked.
with that. I think it's pointless to argue like the pedantic definition
Yeah.
of third party, because it's just like, honestly, when we talk about third party, we pretty much mean transforming action figures that look and feel like Transformers but aren't branded by Hasbro or Takara.
Well, I mean,
Typically that's about as far as we go, like broadly.
We've had like Rick has kind of talked about it when he was on, at Hasbro too, and obviously it's a while ago that things
Rick,
have
the
changed.
former brand manager at Hasbro, like myself, we used to
Rick-
work together.
I didn't know Rick was at Hasbro. That's news.
Yeah,
Sorry, we were keeping it a secret. We've been
So-
really on the down low.
But anyway, nevertheless, he kind of talked about that to where there's a blurry line with third party is like how much they can infringe on the likenesses and whatnot and not. And so we've had separate episodes to talk about that. But essentially the things that are knockoffs, like if you use, names from Hasbro, if you use the symbols and whatnot of Transformers, all that type of thing, like all of that, like it's really easy for Hasbro or Takara to go after the companies for those types of things. If you use the same, tooling and figures, like if the transformation of the figure is exactly the same, all that type of thing, like that's easy for them to do it. Whereas the third party stuff it's a little more, legally gray area, and they haven't brought cases against them. At this point.
I think the way he said it was, it's, like if they tried to fight it, they're like, okay, wait, are we going to say we own every red and blue transforming truck guy? Like, that's, like, and obviously like with the head sculpts and stuff, it's obvious who it is, but especially if it's based off media. But, it's some, I think they hate it, but it's not worth it.
Well,
I think the reason people define it, Anna, is because part of the fandom says, oh, all third party is knockoffs, as Ron's saying in chat. And so when people are like, this is done by a typical third party company, but it's not, is just to say, hey, this is completely unique on its own, like Unrustable Bastards. It's like that's not third party. It's a complete, its own thing. But it obviously is made by a guy that designed a bunch of third party stuff. It's like, it's also in that vein, and it's just, I think, to try to separate the conversation for some people who do consider, all third parties should be illegal or whatever, and are big haters. It's like, well, this is completely unique, but it just, people being pedantic on the internet is the end of it. Which what do you expect?
And it really is like that. That's the end, and it's a slightly annoying part for me, just because it comes down sometimes to like, this one is a third-party Transformer and therefore classy and good and better than other toys, but this one isn't, so therefore it's not good or not interesting. And it's just like, it's a little bit of a frustration sometimes, because personally as a collector, I care less about it being an official character. I care less about it being the exact replication. I think it just all comes down to collecting differently, which is totally, I'm always encouraging it. Some people don't.
Well, and I think like third party has, over the years has kind of like split off with what they've been doing. So, we've been at it for a while. And so a lot of the third party, years ago was kind of to help supplement some of, people's classics mainline collection, like to get the characters that Hasbro wasn't going to do. Well, now Hasbro's doing all those characters. So, they've kind of went away from that. And then now they're, there's one area of third party where they're going down the, Masterpiece and trying to supplement Takara with that. But then there's a handful of companies that have kind of really, been a step above everybody else, and that's the Fans Toys, the MMC, the X Transbots, like those
sometimes X Transbots.
Well, there's been some other companies, like we had mentioned Bagcube before, where they kind of have got crowded out and whatnot by some of these other companies, especially Fans Toys over the years, where they will show off renders ahead of time and kind of scare some of the other companies from doing those same figures and whatnot. It's been kind of a game, because a lot of the third party back in the day, they would show off renders years ahead of time before they release something, and now a lot of the companies are kind of keeping things close to the vest, just because they don't want the other companies releasing the exact same figure at the exact same time. But it always seems to happen, where we have 1,000 Predakings or Megatrons or whatever it may be, that just, or Springers or whatever, that release at the same time.
To me, the third party move that was really weird this year, that's kind of I think is actually blurred the line. I think Big Firebird did nicely, and now they've established themselves as their own company and their own thing and their own weird niche. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But I think the really weird one is, we talked about MMC and how they're kind of step above. Everybody's always ooh, it's an MMC product, I know it's going to be good. And then they release figure after figure from their reformatted line. And then we get Eris. We get their original character, woman Tarn type of person that is not what Rob would define as a third party Transformers figure, but obviously a third party Transformers figure, because it's Tarn but gender swapped basically. So it's just a really weird line there, where a established company had decided to be gutsy enough to make their own toy after years of, and it's kind of similar to when Fans Project made their own retro combiner type of thing, to just be hey, we're established, we make a lot of toys, now we've made our own character, does it still sell? The answer was obviously yes with that figure. And to me, I hope that happens more, because I think it's really super cool when that happens.
Well, and Eris was an interesting figure too, because
bizarre.
It was very limited. I didn't realize at the time that they were essentially making them to order whatever they had put up for the pre-order through their own store, that was it. And so I probably would have, if I would have known that, I would have probably went ahead and put my order in sooner. I'm hoping they do a second run of it, at least limited, maybe a TFCon exclusive or something along those lines, so that I can, get my hands on it. Because it looks from what everyone said that's gotten it, it seems like a very good figure and really, neat and whatnot. And something that, now that they've established that reformatted world, I think that those types of characters can kind of slot in with the rest of the figures that you have with that line, even though it's not supported by the fiction from Hasbro.
And she's great as a pre-tool for Nautica.
I hope so. I really hope so. But something else about it is that maybe it isn't that big of a move for MMC, because they have released a few repaints as con exclusives that are nobody. Their gold and black Mirage. That wasn't anybody, right? That was just, no. They were just having fun with it. Type
the
of
black
thing.
repaint.
Yeah. So they've kind of always just done having fun with it, and now they actually made a mold to have fun with it. So I hope that moves on.
Yeah.
But still, no one will acknowledge gosh darn Calculation King as his own man.
No one knows what you're talking about.
Eris is isn't, I think, a really interesting thing on just because it's not based on anything, but like I said, it's an obvious like half Tarn homage.
Yeah.
But good luck, like there's a bunch of third party stuff I feel that you could grab and like make any layperson you could set in like this is obviously an Optimus Prime, and they go yeah, but then you say well this is a Tarn figure, they're like you're gonna have to do more to convince me, right? So it's super blurry. It's an interesting case.
It's very strange.
Yeah, it's neat. I hope it did well for them. If it sold out, I guess it did. So
I'm really hoping for a repaint for one of the cons. I'm really hoping that the con exclusive for TFCon is going to be that mold as someone else. Like, I don't even care who.
I really
like pea green.
To talk about MMC, who's one of the oldest companies that's still around. They started off way back with their Choo Choo Optimus Prime that was not good. I mean, I still have mine, but it was not good. And there was an Insecticon train that never made it out. Makes me sad. But they eventually found their place, and then now, of course, they're super IDW. I think Eris is them trying to figure out what the hell to do, because I've heard that the last few things they've made, other than Optimus, like didn't do so great. Like it didn't hit the numbers they want. Like Chrome Dome didn't sell as well, and I don't think Wrong has sold as well as they'd like. And so I think it's kind of winding down the reformatted line, and they're trying to figure out what should we do now. They wrapped up the DJD, which was awesome. I'm really glad they did that. And I'm stoked for Wrong, but not everyone is. Not everyone liked Chrome Dome.
Great.
I hope to hear more from them. All we know right now is their Protect-A-Bots that they're working on. Which
Yeah. I'm hoping with TFCon that they, show off a lot more. But yeah, maybe again another one of those things where, that they're trying to figure out like, what they want. I mean, I think that for the most part, they've released. I'm happy with the most of the set that we've gotten from the Lost Light crew. Like, I'd love to have a Nautica, like you guys had mentioned. I'd love to have. If they could do an Ultra Magnus, and I think that would probably sell well as well. But it seemed like that they were gonna do, Grimlock and the Scavengers and all that, like at one point. But I feel like they're probably pulling back from that.
Grimlock is canceled.
Grimlock's officially canceled.
Did they officially? When did
they
say
saw
that?
Planet X's, and we heard word.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It makes sense.
They saw Planet X's, which looks amazing, and they're like, okay, that's way better than ours. Just never mind.
Yeah. I mean, even if
they didn't want to get into that fight.
Like, I mean, yeah, even if it's not, way better, if it's the same, like, on par or whatnot, like, the fact that Planet X is going to come out with that figure, ahead of time, like, I mean, it's just not going to sell. Like, everyone that wants it's going to buy that one, kind of thing, too. So, I don't know. And I'm curious, like, that Deathsaurus, like, is that going to come out? Because, I mean, that was pretty close
it's not
to being
canceled.
out.
It's still not out. It's still not done, and it's not canceled. So,
yeah. Who knows?
Kudos to MMC, at least, for not getting into a fight. Overall, I think MMC is really third party has really cannibalized itself. We used to have a lot more, and I just felt they choked the market out on themselves. And at least for the Masterpiece side of things, like, Fans Toys directly to blame for that. I mean, ultimately it's the consumer's choice, right? Like, nobody put a gun to their head, but Fans Toys 100% plays dirty with, a third party is about to release something. Here's our renders to try to stop it. And they've done that multiple times, and it worked. Yeah. And that's that is explicitly what has led to the past 2 weeks with X-Transbots. Keith has been working on a lot of those toys for a long time. Like, it's obvious, right? Like, how do you get that many stuff? And a lot of them are renders. The Perceptor is like a sample from the factory that no one had heard about, right? And so it's like, bloop, here it is. It's done. It's about ready to go, right? Like, that's him fighting Fans Toys on the front lines. Him trying to, it's because he didn't want to announce stuff ahead of time, because Fans Toys will just drop renders just to cannibalize at least some of the sales. there's definitely a lot of people say, oh, well, if Fans Toys going to do it, I'll just wait the 7 years until it comes out, hopefully. Right. Yet,
Well,
I love Fans Toys, but they've yet to finish a combiner. I don't think they know how. And I honestly, like, I got the Superions from them, the 3 pieces. I don't think they know what to do. I think they're really struggling with how to handle the weight.
That's what I read somewhere, is that they went back to the drawing board on their, was it Dead End? It's supposed to come with all the combiner stuff to rework all of it. Hey, Phil.
Good evening, folks.
I wonder what they're going to do with, like, I'd assume, like,
I mean, that's the thing that's so funny about, like, in general with all these combiners. I still feel like Zeta, Toy World or whatever, is the one that's done the best combiners, just because, like, they didn't make the figures, like, loaded up with diecast and whatnot, and they did faux parts and all that kind of thing that people don't like, but it makes the combiners more stable.
It does. But also a lot of people pick it up and says this doesn't feel like a masterpiece toy.
No, I agree.
I mean, it might not feel like it, but when I put it, down on it, like I don't put it on a shelf because it's big. It looks like it's masterpiece. I mean, it's not as much glossy parts, but my Zeta Superion is, I love that thing. That's probably my favorite combiner. That and Orden are probably my 2 favorite combiners there. And Orden's got its own sort of unique look versus Zeta Superion is, that's either you want it right out of the toy or right out of the cartoon. That looks spot on.
Orden doesn't look masterpiece at all to me, in my opinion. He sits with my classic combiners. I love him, and you're right. He has that wink, unique look.
Yeah.
But
which one's Orden?
The
Abominus.
Abominus, yeah.
Oh,
Unique toys Abominus.
Yeah.
Just like I like their Bruticus, but I like the MMC one more, which also has. Is it a masterpiece? Is it not? Where does it slide? How does it feel? It's subjective.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I wonder about Fans Toys these days is, I mean, Takara did this too, but Fans Toys, like, the price of Fans Toys really ratcheted up in this last year. Like, the most recent run of figures, like, you've kind of seen it where, I don't know, what are they, probably 50% more expensive than what they were back in the day. And so I kind of wonder if, that they're just like, hey, we're going to go out, man. This is going to have all the paint you want, all the die-cast you want. It's going to feel like a premium figure and whatnot. And then you have some of the other companies where they're like, you know what? Like, yeah, as nice as, the whatever Perceptor might be, if you don't want to spend $200 on that thing, like, come over here to X Transbots and we'll give you a nice looking Perceptor that still, feels really good, but is a little bit cheaper.
A little bit cheaper, more accessories. It doesn't have that feral pre-order madness that you see in the fans toys Facebook groups and on different boards and stuff. It's a cult, that Fans Toys.
That's what the chat was talking about too. Is just that XTB is actually obtainable, and I don't know if the difference is in production numbers or just the fervor, but like I find Fans Toys mini bots are pretty easy to get.
Yeah.
Like some of them you can still go buy them in stock right now, like some of their stuff.
They're actually right now. TF Source I think is having a sale on some of those Fans Toys mini bots. So
yeah, they're having customer appreciation sales, so everything's back down to normal prices.
Yeah. But the big dudes, man, they sell out immediately. It is a fervor, and it's like, well, all right, here's the 4th tier of websites that someone listed that has one. I'll put in a pre-order and hope that it comes through and I don't lose my money, right? It's like, has anybody ordered from here? You get a few people chiming in. It's like, okay, all right, I guess it's okay. As far as the price thing, like maybe Fans Toys is, monopolizing or capitalizing on the situation a little bit, but like that's across the board for everybody from, Super 7 to Hasbro to Takara Masterpiece to X Transbots to Fans Toys. Everyone's prices went up because everything costs more right now.
Right.
You know,
and some of these pieces were going up pre-pandemic. I mean, look at RC Masterpiece compared to a lot of the car bots before her. It's considerably more expensive. So I mean, I get it. I think Fans Toys, they saw that the secondary market for like their Insecticons and Quietus and all those other things were insane. And so why, if they had the ability to make more, why would they not? They're not a sports stadium where you have a limited capacity of how many seats you could sell. They can sell as many of those things as there's a demand for. And so the scarcity really drove up the demand for their products. And, we'll see if it's coming down now. I mean, certain stuff have started, the bubble has popped on certain things. Like you can go to Targets and Walmarts now and see Legos on clearance. And that was not the case for the last 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
So I want to kind of, since we got into X-Transbots a lot, and since X-Transbots is what kind of inspired us to do the show this week, why don't we go ahead and just start talking about the reveals? So what else coming soon that we heard about that has us excited?
Can we bring Christian just to run through the list like you did last week with the leaks?
He won't
It's
know
third
this
party,
one as
he won't know
well.
Yeah.
He used to, but then he was all like, "Oh, I'm going to quit third party because I have self-control." So.
Is that a shot against those of us who still do third party, or Rob doesn't do mainline, so
No, that's a shot against everyone ever.
Okay. Wow.
I still dabble in the main line. It's like I pick up like one figure here and there.
Yeah, you get the J Blavin sound wave and you're good.
I mean, I have Ramjet over here.
That sound wave was the toy I was
That's
waiting
not
for my
Ramjet,
whole
that's a
life.
box.
He's in there
Rambox.
probably. But yeah, so X-Transbots. Probably start out with the thing that interests the least amount of people, and that's the next of their Quintessons. They got the dude with the spindly arms coming out. We saw him a bit ago. He has electronics and stuff again. Did anybody other than me get Dr. Egg?
Nope.
No.
I saw the explosion thing, and then I waited, and then other things distracted me, and yeah.
To be clear, the explosion thing, that guy...
He did it to himself. Yeah, he did it to himself completely, but it caused a little uproar, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah. That thing was really stupid, and I loved it. I was ready to be mad at myself for buying it, and it's so silly. It's the definition of excess, and I think that's a lot of what we see with Takara, right? With Takara Masterpiece and with X-Transbots Masterpiece is they try to go all in with the accessories. And some people hate that because they think, oh, you cut all that out and it would knock $50 off. It would never knock $50 off, guys.
No.
These are just the price is already set that they want to write it at. And these pack-ins help it feel like it and, just kind of makes it worthwhile for them to even do it. But I don't know. It was so neat. The electronics are a bit janky, like you would expect. I'm sure the electronics in this will be a little janky too, but I don't know. It's so cool. It's a big chonking piece. I don't know. I ended up really liking it. I don't know. It's probably clearance at half off or something, right? But the new one looks very cool too. So I'm looking
Dr.
forward
Egg,
to it.
is that transform in any way, or is it just a piece?
No, I mean it rotates the It has the extra ship that works as a remote, and it rotates and it makes sounds and it lights up.
Yeah.
But it's funny, the remote has to be really close to it to get it to work. It's just
height of excess. Just a tangent before it falls out of my head. Is charging Masterpiece prices for Autobot Spike or the guys who guarded Vector Sigma, the Domehead dudes, the Sentinels. That's the height of excess. Dr. Egg is, I'll allow it. I'll spend that half price on it.
I mean, I don't know that it's on sale. That was just me riffing, but
I'm gonna go find it right now.
Yeah. So that was one we seen out. We saw a video of it. That one's probably coming sooner. Obviously, in the backpack, they have their revised lock that's supposed to come out. They showed some pictures. I think there was I think I saw a notable difference in the Shen or something. But I didn't analyze it that heavy. It's supposed to fix it. It's supposed to not be garbage like a lot of people's lock was. I didn't get mine; it got lost in shipping.
When you say lock, that's the cup, right?
The cup, their cup, yes. Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping this next one is good. They said it's back in their own factory now, and blah blah blah. It was obviously they showed Springer off like a couple months ago, and it was like it was about to come out, right? And we're still sitting here. Like some of the colors looked bad, and they said they were gonna go back and fix them. So I guess we'll see on that. But to get to some of their new interesting stuff, the mail-away cars, was it Omnibots? Yeah.
Yes.
So those are cool. Those are super
those
cool.
Look really, really neat.
I feel like I'm not as 100% on board as I want to be on those, because I feel like X-Transbot gave them designs similar to how they would have looked had they appeared in the cartoon. And so, like, I only had Overdrive as a kid, and he's weirdly proportioned, and they made him more normal proportion. And it doesn't quite hit the nostalgia spot for me with him.
For me, I had all three of them as a kid, and then my first car was a white Toyota Celica XX or Supra, the 85 Supra, and then my buddy, his first car was a silver Mazda RX-7. So that's downshift and camshaft right there. So those just like get right in that nostalgia button and get it. And I'm a big fan. I can't wait.
Yeah.
You know, it's super cool to see somebody finally touching those toys. You know, because we haven't.
I mean, really touching them the way Peter was demonstrating it.
Right. Tool wrote a song about that.
So, the Minosaur that they come out with, did those sets all come out? Like, is that done?
Yeah.
Okay.
The G2 stuff hasn't released yet, but like they've shown it all. Like the G2 main dude and trailer and stuff. I think are coming.
I wasn't sure if like the trailer, and then didn't they have another kit with like all the extra bits and whatnot, bits and bobs?
I know that they did for the first one. I don't know if they did for G2 or not.
The youth version is coming, right? No, am I thinking? Yeah. Didn't they do the youth? Yeah, the
I don't know.
version
I
is
don't know
coming.
about the kit. I know the rest of it is.
The trailer. They said they're doing a youth version trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can pre-order that right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the with the Omnibots, it's neat to see a third-party toy of something that wasn't in the cartoon Masterpiece, because Masterpiece is all about the cartoon these days, right? And you know, like I can understand Phil's point, but you know, I think trying to make what it would look like in the cartoon is kind of the point. But it sucks like if you wanted something different, but there isn't really like Masterpiece Chug, you know. Although
it did show up in the manga.
That.
The Omnibots did show up in the Gen 1 manga.
I have that big book of that. It's untranslated. I don't know why
Were
I bought
they in the Marvel Comics source book?
No. The universe? No.
Yeah.
They did show up in Dreamwave after getting stomped off panel by Minosaur.
Yeah. I remember they were in the Dreamwave one.
Also in that line was finally, to me, Punch Counterpunch. I have been wanting who actually showed up in both series, both season 4 and Headmasters, with different animation. I don't know if I like how they handled the release, because
I don't.
It's two different releases.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like it should have been
clip-on
right?
parts. Is there anything else different?
Yeah, there's some other
little things.
Yeah, like some stuff.
That's just so frustrating. Because like I was sharing that, like I'm super excited for that release. Like it's really cool because I was disappointed with the Titans Returns-ish release of Couch. We'll just call him
Couch.
Yes. Punch Counter Punch, because I just didn't like it. You know, the legs are icky, the head's meh. It's not great. So I didn't like it. I decided, you know what? I really like that old Sideswipe and Sunstreaker mold, so I'll go back and get the old Collector's Club or whatever the hell it was, Punch Counter Punch. And then I got it. I realized just how small its head was and how like crappy the whole thing held together. And I was like, oh no, I like this even less. Luckily, that one held its value really well, so whatever. I didn't lose anything on it. And then I went ahead and got the new version, of the new mold that is better colors, which helped it a little bit, but I still hate it. So I'm glad to get a new one. But I decidedly do not want to, because I want motivation to take it off the shelf and switch it back and forth. But the way they're releasing it, the Autobot side I like more is on one of them. The Decepticon side I like more is on the other. So if I just bought both, I'd never have to swap it, which is the exact opposite of what I want to end up with it, because I want to play with it. Anyway, sorry, rant over.
No, I agree. Like, what kills me on it is if ever there was a toy that you're like, you know what? I don't think we need to try to immediately get double dips on it because it might happen anyways. Punch, counter punch is going to be it, because some people will buy two of it anyways to display both modes.
Right.
And, like, it would be kind of neat to take, to get the Japanese version and the American version, both like that. But I'm not going to. I just don't have the space for it. I'm just going to get the Japanese one because Headmasters actually at least ran for a while, right? Wasn't just shut out like season 4. Not that it was good, mind you, but it's, I don't know. I don't know why you just wouldn't put all the bits and bobs in there, and it just felt a little gross.
I like both faceplates. That's all I want. I don't care about any other bits and bobs. I just want both faceplate faces because they look better.
Either way,
I
I'm
totally
still super
missed
happy
that
it's coming out.
I missed that one. Like, so they're releasing it as 2 different figures?
Yes. The
And,
Japanese
and each
version,
figure
the US
turns
version.
into two figures as well, because it's both sides. But yeah.
They're not a lot different, Lucas, but they're different enough that it pisses off some of us.
If you know what you're looking for, the differences are obvious. If you're somebody that just vaguely knows that punch counter punch exists, you won't care, right? Like, you'll just grab one and you'll be content with it. But if you're like, that's the wrong faceplate, that's not what it looked like over here, that type of stuff, then
I got you.
Then you feel differently. Yeah, it's mainly the faceplate.
A filthy casual, you won't get it.
Hey, ignorance is bliss, my man.
Yeah.
I wish I could go
When
back.
it comes to this fandom, hell yeah.
All right. So, I don't know. I thought that whole batch of those 4 cars were super great. I think that's stuff that has felt missing for a long time. And I was...
Well, there was other cars, too. The Runabout Run Amok. So they did like wave of cars, and then we'll get to the other wave that they showed as well. But the car wave was substantial. And what I would say would be a year's worth from a third party, to get the wave of all the cars that they showed, the 6 cars, to me, that's a whole year's worth of third party releases.
There's no ifs on it, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 figures.
Yeah.
That, plus everything else they've got announced. And they haven't put anything out in a while. Like, a lot of people, we do bitch about like Fans Toys super slow releases, right? But if you consider all the reissues they do every year, Fans Toys puts out a lot every year. I just think they've been smaller runs lately because they're trying to get more characters out. I think it's part of it. The reason why everything sells out so quick. But like, I mean, if they get 6 figures out, even reissues, like that's amazing. And I think you have to own your own factory anymore to get any type of stuff like that out, that volume. So I don't think we'll be seeing some of this stuff for a while. Yeah.
So my question would be, and this comes to any third party discussion, you guys talked about this with MMC a few minutes ago, like, will we actually see all of this stuff? And I think that was the question I asked last week about the leaks. We're not done talking about these third party releases, but what's the percentage of these, pre-orders that will actually be fulfilled because they actually make the toys?
I think the number will be high, personally.
It'll be high. I don't think it'll be 100% because I'm never that optimistic, ever.
I feel like usually Fans Toys has released most of what they've shown off like through the years. I think, but they have a Trailbreaker and a Blitzwing. I think that like still are
super,
like never seen, haven't seen the light of day. But other than that, most of their stuff they have released. Like,
I don't think that means it's not coming out though. I think by the time pre-orders go up, if it comes from the manufacturer, right? Like some places, like, oh, somebody put out a render and they're ready to take your $5 pre-order right away, right? But I think stuff that, at least if X-Transbot's listed, they're planning on make it. So unless they get shut down or they quit, like, I think it's all going to come out.
Well, I feel like most of these companies, when they haven't released something, or have put it on the back burner, it's because like 5 other companies did it at once. Like that's where I feel like that Springer, that they probably would have came out with it earlier. And then I think that like X Transbots back in the day, didn't they have an Inferno, which I don't even know if they announced.
They killed it. They did. They killed it because 3 fucking ones came out at the same time, then like plus the Takara version, and they're just like, we're just going to back off, and now they're like, why bother? No, we're good.
Right. So,
kind of at that same time, to move off from the cars, which are still amazing, but so many characters everybody's been waiting for a long time. So happy somebody's doing them. Is their Galvatron, which they've revised, and so that is one that Fans Toys announced at the time. Fans Toys pulled a Fans Toys. And so they backed off and focused on other things, and then they've revised the design. And then they showed it, and people had complaints. And so they went back and revised it again to make it even better. Like it had like some really gross hinges in the front and stuff. That was the main thing. And I'm sure they fixed a few other things too. But, that's just 3D renders at this point too. Like I don't think they, we don't have samples or anything. So I think it's still a while out. But what do people think of that? Because I know some of us have Fans Toys Galvatron, which, is generally considered a really good figure, and used to command stupid secondary market prices. I don't know if it still does because Fans Toys has reissued it several times in multiple colors.
I think...
Go ahead, Peter.
Go.
No. Go. You go. Okay, I'll be fast. I'm just going to say most... Good job, Peter. Most of the time, Galvatron figures don't excite me because when I look at them, I just like instantly see a flaw and then I just go away. I don't know why I'm so picky with Galvatron. I've had the DX time for a while and it's my favorite, and why I can't even explain. But this one actually caught my eye. It made me actually think like, I guess I should get that one maybe. And that's a lot further than any other Galvatron's got me in a long time.
It does. It does some cool stuff that Fans Toys doesn't. Like Fans Toys gun mode is bad. You're right, but like that's, if you're going to sacrifice a mode, most people would pick the alt mode, right? You want the robot mode to be sharp, and the robot mode is really sharp on the Fans Toys one. I don't like the transformation, so I am down for another competitor in that. But with all of this X Transbots stuff, their last couple of figures have sucked for engineering. Like they were on such a good kick with the Minosaur stuff. All of the main bots on that are fantastic. They're fun. I find them intuitive, but then they came out with the trailer. The trailer is miserable. It's a piece of crap. I hate it. It just ruins the whole experience. And then Lock came out and is super fiddly. Like just you can tell that from reviews. It's really complex. And then their Streetwise came out, really complex, and it's a car transformer. Like how are you still making like you just did 4 for Minosaur and they were excellent. Why is this car so complex? And now they announced 6 super anticipated cars, and I'm just like, oh man, are these all going to be nightmares? Because no one else is doing these characters, right? Like so I'm going to buy them, but like, man, I hope they're fun, or at least decent. I hope they're not miserable. And then same with their Galvatron and their Springer, because I've been holding out for their Springer since they first announced it. I never really liked the look of Fans Toys one overall. Like it wasn't terrible. It was just like, I like that one better. I'll wait for it. I didn't know I'd be waiting this long.
I very much feel like I've got my Fans Toys Galvatron / Sovereign, just like I had my Fans Toys Coot / Cup. I'm really happy with those. Are these other ones different / slightly better? I think that's pretty subjective, but the fact that I've already got what in my mind is darn near close to perfect. I mean, if it was really easy for me to sell those two and replace it with, an X Transbot one because I like it better, it would have to really impress me to replace what I have. And so far they haven't. I'm not saying they're bad, but it's just not, even if
your
it's
box
better,
is checked,
better enough to get me to replace what I have.
Well,
yeah,
I think that you should be able to sell the Fans Toys, whatever it is, pretty easily on the secondary market, and perhaps even make a profit on that. But, I do think that there is room now, like, that Sovereign is a relatively old toy at this point, like, old in third party terms. And so I think that there is, that, there's been some tricks and whatnot that, they've kind of done more recently that I think that they could do. Like, if they put in, I can't remember, is there, there's no ab crunch, I don't think, on the Fans Toys one.
No, but I don't know if there is on.
Right?
Pretty sure. But, like, I don't know that X-Transbots has that either, though.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe not. But, like, so I think that they have an opportunity, maybe if they go more cartoon accurate and whatnot. Yeah,
I mean, that one is very cartoon accurate except for the gun mode. The gun mode's like all squat and stubbly, and he uses his arms for the things, which they shouldn't because they're like a flat panel, like just things of that nature, which X-Transbots does. But I think, talking about how old that figure is, and how it's still coveted, by a lot of people, just really shows like how good that design was, and still is, to be honest. Like, yeah, there's some things it could do better, but it's still a pretty strong, or a really strong release. I feel like
Can I ask a broader question before we go on this list? Let me ask a broader question, sort of on this same topic. Besides Takara coming out with an actual licensed masterpiece, now that we're getting these Fans toy, we've had some of these really nice Fans toys for a number of years. We're getting X-Transbots, which are super nice, look super nice in the renders. Are we at the point where, these look so good from the ones that have been out for 3 or 4 years that it would take an official Takara version to get people to replace it?
Peter is mouthing no.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Peter, I don't think
you
can
actually talk
here,
Peter.
He's been trying to speak for a while.
When I was a tiny Destron and reading the comics, my favorite 2 characters were Ratchet and Galvatron. Especially at the end, Furman's run on Marvel, where Galvatron was just batshit Galvatron. With that wonderful Wildman art and just frothing and awesome, and the non-cartoon deco. Abaddon by X-Transbots, their Galvatron in Marvel colors will scratch my Marvel Masterpiece Galvatron itch in ways that I can't. Well, yeah, I just did articulate with words. If it comes out in only the cartoon colors, then whatever. I'm going to get it anyway. I'm probably going to get it. But I really hope it comes out in Marvel colors. That said, I have Sovereign. He's fine. I love Galvatron. He's mine came damaged, and then Fans Toys wouldn't do anything about it. So, sour grapes.
The good news is if you want some repaints, you have a chance with X-Transbots. They generally do interesting repaints, nostalgia based. It's usually, it's not just off the wall. It's usually based off something of most or stuff. They might not get to every variation, but most stuff comes out in 2 colors eventually, right? Whereas Fans Toys, all they have is like this scene in the cartoon colors and this other scene where it was in different colors. Like
slightly different colors. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all you really get from them. Which their choice.
But I will say with Fans Toys, early on, I think they did have more variations in colors and whatnot, and those didn't sell well. And so I think that they probably are like, hey, like, we need to stop doing this because then that product's going to sit and get clearanced and whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I could be wrong, but like I know.
No, you're right.
The G2 Dinobots were like that. They also did the Shockwave was.
Or the Omega Sentinel.
Yeah, the Quake Wave they did in like 4 different decos. The Dinobots each came in Chrome, regular, G2, and other. The Diaclone, didn't they do some Diaclone colors a couple times or something? And those seemed to sit for a while.
Swoop got red and blue.
Yeah. So
I think this is the last release for X-Transbots that's new, is the Perceptor, which I think is kind of a shot across the bow. Like it is. The fact that it's like done. Like all those other stuff we talked about, most of those are renders, right? This is one is done, so it's obvious they've been keeping quiet on it until they're about ready to ship it. Because you're talking about, Phil, like, well, if you already got that box checked, you don't really care about replacing it. And Fans Toys has a Perceptor, that came out very early, and even Fans Toys is like, this toy wasn't good enough, and we're doing it again. And it was definitely one of their weakest releases. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, I thought the engineering was fine, but like the materials are all off. It does not feel like Fans Toys. It sticks out like a sore thumb from everything else Fans Toys has done.
A lot of people ain't got stress marks on it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just built differently and not in a good way. So if those aren't already flooding the market, expect them to be flooding the market. But so yeah, this is them, I think, trying to get the release out well before Fans Toys does, and I assume they are going to, just because it's that close to done. And it's interesting to see them shoot back, and he looks great. I don't know what the engineering is going to be like. It comes with some dorky, silly accessories, which they're fun. The world's tiniest little bumblebee with really badly painted eyes, but I don't know how much that's going to show up when you have it in hand. But the zoomed in picture, it looks so derpy. But I don't know. Like, I think he looks great, and he nails the aesthetic that I like in my Masterpiece toys. I know Peter isn't so wild about it sometimes, but
the Perceptor, I'm on board with their Perceptor.
Yeah, I hope it's good.
I think it's just interesting that we're getting, all of these Perceptors, kind of coming out here at the same time.
Well, it's two. To be clear, it's not all of these. It's two.
Well,
unless there's something I'm missing.
There's an official one.
He's always going to count the official guys. Don't forget. Lucas likes those.
Well,
they're not Masterpiece toys.
Whether they're Masterpiece or not, they're for people that only collect one per character. If 86 Perceptor is going to be $30 and awesome enough to make them not spend $200 or $150, then it's a contender.
Yeah. That's the thing I wanted to say. This whole conversation is, I feel like almost all those releases we just went over, aside from the Omnibots, I feel like I've been Lucased. Like, I feel like having the recent releases of good Generations versions of characters that I'm not that invested in has made me not care as much about getting these. Like, it's something that didn't used to happen to me, but now finally the Generation stuff is good enough. It's just like, you know what? I don't need a better version than Generations of this guy or that guy. Like, especially Runabout and Run Amok. Like, when I saw those, I was just like, I have good versions of those. And I even had like high amounts of nostalgia for them, but those didn't look significantly floored to me, so I moved on. It was a new experience.
For me, with all that kind of stuff is I can't, like, I know, Anna, that you do this where your collection looks really nice and it's varied and all that between like Legends and Mainline and Masterpiece and whatever. But to me, like, I can't put a Mainline figure with Masterpiece. It like just does not work for me. Like, even if you could like throw it in the back and be like, whatever, like, just the size difference in them just would annoy me too much. And so like I would have to have, like, for me, I'm okay with the fact that they're coming out with, good versions of all the movie figures, like with the Studio Series 86, like, I can deal with that. Whereas, if they weren't doing that and I was only getting, whatever, Perceptor or something by himself, I couldn't do it. But it's still just not, it's just not the same. But, like, I do think, like, again, like, Perceptor in my mind is not, like, he might be, either B-list or C-list, like, character. Like, it's not the same as Galvatron. And so I just wonder, having two figures releasing in similar times, and we've already got another Perceptor, so like, if you're like, I don't care that much about it, I already got the Fans Toys from 5 years ago or whatever it is, like, do I really need to spend another like $100 whatever $200
anybody
on it?
Masterpiece collectors that bought the old Fans Toys, most of the people in that part of the fandom are happy to upgrade it because it's that far off. Like, now Chug collectors, no. I mean, I think Anna, being kind of like a crossover collector like that, I think Anna's pretty unique in that. Like, definitely not the only person by any means, right? But I think most people tend to fall into, I collect Chug because that fits my budget. I can fiddle around and play with them a lot. And Masterpiece, where like, if I want to play with them, I'm going to sit down for 30 minutes, right? And like, I want them to look really nice and like high-end collectibles, and they're going to sit over here. And maybe I'll dabble in Chug just for, shits and giggles here and there, right? Like, I think for the most part, they're different camps just because the budgets are so far off. And you got some omnivores like Peter and Nick and Rick, right? That just, gobble everything up forever.
And Galvatron is a different character from Galvatron 2. So if we get the Marvel Deco Galvatron 2, that's a completely different character, and you can put them both in your display, and they look physically different. They're from different manufacturers. They're different freaking characters. Buy them both.
Yeah, so I think the Perceptor coming out here is a case of Keith had probably had that been in the works for a while, and then once Fans Toys finally announced, oh, hey, we're going to do an update to our Perceptor, Keith is like, you know what? We're far along enough with this. I think they're so far out. We're going to keep the kibosh on this until it's about ready to go, and then we're going to drop it and see how it does. Whereas beforehand, I know Fans Toys is just taking the wind out of their sails with just, here's a bunch of renders, and we're not actually going to release any toys. And let's be honest here. X-Transbots is all that's left in the game. Like, MMC does a little bit of stuff, but they're different enough. Like, their Bruticus doesn't check some of the boxes that most Masterpiece collectors want. Like, I feel it's like half. It's halfway there, right? Like, it's a nice piece, although I think it's really crappy put together. It's not stable. But it does a lot of really cool stuff. And I don't know. The engineering's really nice. I really like the engineering. Some people hate it. I think it's awesome. But
I think they're Masterpiece as individuals, but not as a combiner.
Yeah. They're way better individual.
Minus the paint issue, which is, we've talked about that on a different show, but yeah, the lack of paint.
But so like when you take them out, the people that are trying to do like die cast, a lot of paint, accessories, like how Takara does it, at least from those bullet points they try to hit, it's just Fans Toys and X-Transbots left. And Fans Toys no longer does accessories, and they've been really skimping on even articulation lately. And
Zeta,
overall, I don't think
is Zeta. We don't know if they're still around. Like, they are Moon Studios or something. I don't know. Whatever. But what's the company releasing the train bots now?
Moon Studios.
Okay.
But the difference is, like we kind of started off with, Zeta never fit Masterpieces. Some people, they definitely fit scale, but like they're all plastic. They're usually not super cartoony. Like, it's obvious there's some parallels, and the same is with their train bots. Like, they don't look like they stepped off the screen, from the renders, but they're much more detailed, and it's Zeta style, / the old Toy World style, because it's the designers, which that's cool. Toy World got their start as Chug, as the Chug style back when that was the thing. And I think they're still in that design phase, or that design style. That's what they enjoy. So that's why I don't think they play in the Masterpiece game. If they do, it's just because there's nothing else. Like, if you want to get that rating, Zeta, put it on there. It's because there's nothing else, right? We don't know what the Takara one's going to be. We've seen that one figure, but we don't have scale on it. We don't know what it's going to look like when it's done. It's still weird.
Zeta, it's like Masterpiece scale, not necessarily. It's kind of like the old DX9 figures too, that like were never accurate to anything. But they were, that scale.
They're on the scale, and that's it.
Yeah. They were placeholders.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ron said Zeta has some Seekers coming out too.
Oh Jesus, why? Why?
Well, who just did the new Starscream?
Yeah, do we want to get to that? Deformation something?
Well, we're not done with X-Transbots.
Are we not?
KFC.
Are we not?
We didn't talk about the motorcycles.
That's what I thought.
Junkions.
Oh yeah.
I want to get to the other toys. I've got
Super
like
Jinrai.
dozens of pictures ready.
For anybody that doesn't know, KFC and X-Transbots are both Keith. Like, he runs both companies. They started off as just a designer was on each company, right? And he just gave different lines, and they didn't collide with each other's toys. And now it's really just wherever he wants to release them. But are any of those Junkions from the cartoon? Like, obviously GoBots is or Psycho's from a different cartoon, but the rest of them, are they from the cartoon? I know the first wave all was.
The first wave all was. This one has design cues that from like crowd scene Junkions, but it's not any of the named main, Ba Weep, Grana chanting ones. They're just dudes probably in the dance scene.
I think they even said like one is from a comic book appearance.
That would make sense.
Huh.
And they only showed up in the comic book in issue 43 of Marvel, which was a retelling of the big broadcast of 2006. I think it was adapted by Ralph Macchio, just so we're all clear.
Wait, like Karate Kid?
The other Ralph Macchio, the Marvel
Okay.
Ralph
Oh
Macchio.
yeah, the Marvel writer. Yeah,
I don't know.
I blanked on that too, Rob.
So yeah,
So-
they're putting out a bunch more bikes.
We also didn't mention too that, like, I think we touched on it with Streetwise, but they're coming out with a Defensor.
So, yeah.
Ron made sure to let us know in the chat, and apparently Paul is throwing some shade over here. So
I mean, I guess there's a defense war, right? Like, there's multiple Defensors coming out, and none of them satisfy me. So
yeah,
Super Jinrai.
who's doing that
KFC.
recently? Oh, okay. Yeah, they've been talking about that for a while.
And then Fans Hobby is releasing their Fire Guts God Jinrai, which looks
Pretty.
really pretty. It is so pretty. But no one I know has liked that toy.
Didn't you like his Lucas?
mention you're like, oh, it's no other companies. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Fans Hobby. If we just don't talk about them.
Fans Hobby is their own thing. Like you put them in Masterpiece because no one else is making that character like the Monster Bots, but they don't really check any of the boxes. It's kind of like Zeta. You know, it's they got the scale, but that's it. Everything else is off. You can put your toy wherever you want.
Awesome.
They're really good. I actually really liked them. I was surprised. I was like, oh, these are cool. You know, I thought they would be dopey, but no, they're cool.
Yeah, no, they're gigantic, and they'll break your toe if you drop them. And yeah, they're monstrous, as they should be.
Oh, and I think the reason we didn't really talk about Defensor is just because they announced all that a while back, right? Like it's not, Groove is out for pre-order now, and I think they showed off Blades and First Aid, like some more renders of them, but it's kind of the path is laid out, right? Found it less interesting than other stuff.
I do also appreciate Paul in the chat throwing shade and then talking about his fans project, Shatterglass Computron, which it actually was the Make Toys Shatterglass Computron that didn't finish.
Paul doesn't know shit, and he never has, and he just runs his mouth, and that's what he does. So let him run his mouth in the chat, and we'll be on the show.
That's where we keep him.
Let's see. Are you going to refute that, Paul? Huh? Oh, nothing? Because you're not here. Suck it.
Paul needs to check the site. CTS. Check the site, Paul. Check the site.
Fans. Speaking of Fans Hobby, they also showed their Armada Galvatron. We've seen that in color now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
I kind of didn't like it.
Optimus, right? That is coming out. Oh no, I think I like
Yeah.
it.
Prime is out.
Yeah, the
Prime's
Armada
already
Prime
out?
is pretty cool.
Prime
But
came
yeah.
out a while ago and had big issues.
But they
Oh,
replaced
I
it,
forgot.
didn't they?
They fixed it. They were sending out whole new torsos to everyone. I think Surge was one of the people that had a bad one, and they sent him like a whole new top half of the figure. Boop.
Yeah, I mean the look was fun, not the toy, but those pictures of the Megatron design, I don't like those at all. I don't know.
Oh, I think they look pretty good.
I think they look really
fixed,
cool.
They fixed
know why.
everything I don't like about the look of Armada Megatron.
Ah, that's the thing. Like, I guess I wanted it to look more like Armada Megatron. I always
Fans
liked
Hobby.
Armada Megatron just as it was. Like, I really did, which is weird, but I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
I like that they used his gun cannon as a tripod, so you don't have to worry about him falling
That's a
over.
good
But you're going to
idea.
need a lot of space behind him. I think it looks cool. I don't have space for it. I'm not that nostalgia to Armada. Like I have weird nostalgia to some of like the early, like the first wave Armada, just because was around the time I was getting back into it. But probably not enough to buy it.
Yeah, Fans Hobbies also showed the next one in that sort of sequence where it's Energon Optimus Prime that they've got coming out. So they've shown, I don't know if they've shown color prototypes of that, but they've shown grayscale prototypes of that. And with the tease that if that does well, then we might get a wing saber to combine with that, which would be fun. Like, I don't know how on board I am about Energon Prime, but Energon Prime with Wing Saber that's a fun toy.
That's a big step up. Yeah, Energon
Yeah.
Prime by himself is just kind of
Yeah.
I think Energon Prime is the first toy that broke me on the I need to have every mold. I hated that thing from the moment I got it.
I have never opened one of those. I played with somebody else's one time.
If I was a kid, I probably would enjoy the little cars in the trailer and stuff. You know, I can see that play pattern being fun, but that toy was terrible. Looked terrible. Hate it.
Fat Prime.
Yeah, someone was doing that really cool custom of all the, like, they were using a bunch of cogs, I think, to make, maybe it was a different one of the modulators, but they were using a bunch of them to make all the different drones. And, like, that looks really cool. Like, having the drone colors for the nostalgia, having them transform. Like, that is really neat. But the actual toy we got out was not very good. Like, you can take that design and make it neat as making an entirely different thing, which I'm a fan of.
So I did want to talk about that Deformation Starscream. Well, do you remember the name of it?
Yeah,
Anybody?
Deformation Space.
Deformation Space.
Yes.
What the
I've
hell?
got a picture I can share on here.
Yeah, what the hell is with that? Like, who says, oh, Takar's putting out one? We'll do one right now as well. That's the time for our brand new no-name third-party company, which tells me that it is someone, and they are trying to avoid Takar's ire, like Studio 01 and Moon Studios, right? Like, we know who those companies are. And whatever you're sharing at it is just colors.
It's just like a
Somehow my
I tried.
internet's like crapping out
Just
here. I don't know what's
waves.
going on.
Yeah, I had a feeling
Fine.
it, like, from his brain when I did this.
on the screen. We have 3 Skype little logos. I don't know. Most of us disappeared. I'm not broadcasting anymore. Cool.
Team, I can't hear Rob.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. The like Skype is freaking. Something's freaking out here.
To
It's
show
your turn, Sarah.
images. Yeah, it can look at us, which punishment, but not meant to.
Turn it off. It's not.
A while ago.
You are still sharing. Oh, now you're
There we go. There we
Turn
go.
off again.
Okay, come back, screen. Come back.
I don't know what happened there. That was weird.
Are we back?
I think
Does
we're
anybody
back
have the
screen?
now.
Mostly, sorta.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry
Well-
about that, everyone. I don't know what the heck happened here. So
Here's
You know.
Deformation Space, Starscream.
this,
Ta-da.
this was
The same thing
Takara
happened,
coming
though.
after us. Is what happened. So.
The same thing happened though when the second version of the first MP Starscream came out, and the Walmart version. There was like Yes Model and iGear and all those other guys that were doing Seekers and other Starscreams, and they didn't care that it was concurrent with the latest Takara, whatever. They just, here, have some jets. Everyone have jets. Jets for everyone. Yay!
Yeah,
But
he was like,
Optimus is kind of the same way too. Like there was some third-party Optimuses at the same time, but again, I think it was part of this is that Takara is releasing a figure that is, over $200, and so this third party's coming in and going, here, have this for I don't know.
yeah,
how
this
much
is
that
like the
thing costs.
130 price tag.
Yeah.
This is like the 130 price tag. To me,
That's a
this
lot
is
better.
very similar to when we were getting MP44, and we also got a Magic Square release and an Infinite Transformation release, which were both very good figures, but just a different take on a very good Optimus Prime.
And
I feel like
Transform
this
Element,
is pretty
right?
much it. Huh?
And Transform Element.
Yeah, I said Infinite Transformation. It was Transform Element. Sorry, I got a different name. All these stupid names that sound exactly the same. But yes. So I think it's very similar to that they just like, it's a very similar design. He still has that kind of like bulbous Starscream cartoony look. He's a little closer to the Make Toys in some ways, but he is.
Looks like he has a waist swivel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he looks like he has a waist swivel. He looks good. He's got the good, like, you can see in the picture I'm holding up, but he has a nice face. He has a nice,
buzzing
like, good color.
If,
Yeah.
I mean, if Takara wasn't coming out, or hadn't came out with theirs, which, I loved, I mean, I probably would have been pretty interested in it, but I also kind of wonder if I wasn't going to get a Takara Starscream, I probably would go with Make Toys and just left it at that, right? Like, I don't know if I would have, like, this one does look better. Takara's was the first to, really get rid of, like, the fins just hanging off the legs somewhere, right? And it looks like they're doing the same here, which is really cool. That's just been, nobody's bothered to do that for Starscream forever.
To me, I think it looks better. Like, I just like the proportions on it better than the Takara. And that's like all there's left, like they've got the look, they've got the cleanness down. All it comes down to is, do you like the proportions on it? I thought the proportions were a little odd in the Takara. I think they look normal on this, so I like it a little better. Does it mean I'm going to get it? Probably not, because I think I'm happy with Legends for my Seekers. But there's his bird mode. Airbird.
And so I feel like this comes back to the question I was asking earlier. And what I like about what Fans Hobbies and X-Transbot is doing is that they're doing characters that haven't been done before.
Right, because this is just another Starscream.
Right, another Soundwave, another Shockwave, another Starscream. Like
that's what sells, bro.
I get it, but
it sucks.
There's an audience who wants a new one of those, or who didn't get it, 3 or 4 years ago when that came out. But then there's, dudes like me who are just like, give me someone new. I'm not saying every company has to do it. And again, I'm saying I'm glad that certain companies are. So I feel like as much as we've seen the third-party marketplace shrink a bit, there is still some diversification in terms of what's coming out with product. Because I do think some of the things that has also shrunk in terms of what third-party is doing is the source material. We don't have a really healthy comic book anymore like we did with the IDWs. We don't have, the video game like Planet X was doing, all the video game stuff from before. So we're really left with either going back to G1 or redoing official Hasbro toys, or doing stuff like the Falcon Eagle Starscream that's a total new thing, or the Megatron that turns into the G.I. Joe helicopter. And so it's an interesting place from that point of view in the third party world.
I think
you bring up an interesting point. Yeah.
I think the reason for that is that most of the Masterpiece collectors, whatever, if you're collecting third party and Takara, like, you're pretty much done at this point. Like,
no,
like most,
no,
no. Hold on. So what I'm saying is that a lot of people that are collecting, like, mainly seasons 1 through 3 and whatnot, probably have some type of representation of the majority of the characters at this point.
Everything but combined.
But those people don't like Transformers, clearly, because they only care about one tiny aspect of the media.
Fucking tell them, Peter.
So what I was gonna say though is that people, there's, like, I feel like there's two collectors they're catering to now. Is the people that want to, like, their collection is just that smaller subset, and then they'll just get upgrades as they come along. Or you have the other people, like us, that are like, oh, give me the oddball stuff, like, or give me some of these additional, season 4 characters that we didn't see that we really want. So,
like, I think that's really hard to get in the Masterpiece line because they are so expensive, and, like, the engineering gets so much more complex. Like, you can't do a one-off, like, little thing, right? Off the side. It's like, no, it's got to be this big. It's a big production, and we got to make enough for it. And so I'm really happy X-Transbots is doing that for those of us into that line, with all these car bots that no one else was going to do anymore, right? Like, Takara barely puts anything out, and they've been redoing the ones that I know people bitch about, but I think they needed to get redone. If they didn't, third party wouldn't have been doing them, right? Like, third party did it to fill a need. Prime was super old and no longer matched. Starscream was super old, no longer matched. Well, where Make Toys has already done it. Fans Toys now has their new Soundwave coming out. A lot of us are excited about it because, like, oh, that looks so much more in line. The original Masterpiece Soundwave is still one of the best Masterpiece toys. It's an excellent toy. It's so fun. But aesthetically, it doesn't fit in. It just doesn't. And I guarantee you Takara is going to come out with a new Soundwave. Like, it's going to happen because it doesn't aesthetically fit in anymore. And that's what keeps them going. So I'm glad X-Transbots feels that they can take the niche of these weird one-off secondary characters that Some weren't even in the cartoon. Some were barely in it. Some were in Headmasters that no one else is going to touch. And so I'm happy for that because I don't think Fans Toys is. Fans Toys just wants those A-listers. Like That's why Fans Toys doesn't do the weird repaints anymore. X-Transbots does. Like I bet we get an E-Hobby Perceptor from them, right? I bet you get your Galvatron too. Or Toy Colors Galvatron, because they're likely to do that type of stuff, whereas the other companies are. I mean, unless Keith just has his plate full because he's got like 12 things he said are all going to come out within a year, right? Unless he didn't have time for it, but
you guys brought up the kind of like weird and like off kilter kind of more original idea stuff. One of the things that's coming up that we didn't really talk about and we haven't really covered hardly at all is that Kane Toys Predakeen that's coming out. Like that thing is definitely, I've seen a few of the figures. A friend of mine owns a few of them. They're like really impressive. They're definitely not Predakeen exactly. They're like even more off than the old Feral Rex guys were, because those were always like, oh, those don't look exactly like I remember from childhood, but they're still really neat. These guys are like,
aesthetic.
Yeah, these guys are like, what the heck are they? They're really fancy and nice looking, but they're very different. They kind of like, I think they threw a bunch of people off recently because I think they had always been upfront about this, but they're doing it as a 6-person combiner instead of a 5, and they're having a gorilla that makes it part of the torso. I don't have a good picture of him loaded on my tablet, but he actually looks really good as a gorilla, but a lot of people are just like very confused now because, their torso is going to be 2 robots instead of 1, which actually makes a much better torso. But
why does Predaking have a gorilla all of a sudden?
Right. Why does he have a gorilla all
underwear?
Of a sudden? Why not? It's a hot gorilla. It's a very good gorilla.
Of course he's hot. Gorilla. He's in the middle of them all.
Right. It's sweaty there. Absolutely. You're talking about sweat, which we always see them breathe, so they probably do sweat. That's upsetting. But anyway, I thought that was really cool. Like, you all should check it out if you haven't seen pictures of it, because it's a really, like, a lot of people have looked at it and said, isn't that just a primal? And it's like, no, it's not a primal because it's going to be orange.
Is it, though? I thought it's going to be black because it's Predakeen's shorts are
It might be all black. I don't think they've shown colors yet. I think it's all been grays.
Okay.
Unless I just miss colors.
That figure is kind of odd too because it's the Masterpiece scale, so it's a bigger scale. But
and I think it's painted as well, right?
Strong aesthetic.
But it's painted a lot, right?
It's painted a lot. But it's also very expensive. Like I think they're like in the 150-ish or more range each. So this is, as a 6-part combiner, this thing's going to be $1,000. And
so it's a masterpiece except an aesthetic. And that makes it an odd release. I hope it works for them because I want more companies in the space, right? Even if I'm not.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's really odd, but I think it's really cool. Like
Antoine said in the chat the word chugster piece. So yeah, I mean
that is an abomination of a term. Chug was bad enough. Chugster pieces.
I mean, but I'm on board with that sort of idea where you get a toy that is the size, scale, and quality of a masterpiece, but doesn't need the exact cartoon aesthetic.
And that's like that's like what I always end up arguing with Rob about on the show, because to me, like, there's no difference. It's like when I get my MMC figures that are just like the same size and the same quality level as Masterpiece, but a different aesthetic. To me, they're Masterpiece figures. Like my brain calls this a Masterpiece figure. It's a Masterpiece figure of a comic book character, but whatever. Phil's holding a Masterpiece figure to me. Because it's, the same size, the same quality
of plastic, though.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, that one's well made. That one's nice, but
it's really nice. I like it, but I can see how someone could say, like, it doesn't have some of the glossy, sort of look that some of the Takara or Fans toys plastic has. So it's super close. Yeah.
But that's an interesting point because MMC, we've touched on, is their own thing. Like the MMC stuff seems to want to go, for me anyway, on its own MMC Lost Light or Scavengers or DJD themed shelves. They don't mix.
I mean, I think
I've been trying to do that lately, and it just makes me angry. Like every time I look at my shelf, I'm like, go back with your friends, damn it! Why are you off here by yourselves? Unless I want to make scenes of the characters doing things, which I have been doing.
Again, the plastic quality on this is not as nice as
It's holding
a
up Planet X Starscream from like the War for Cybertron games.
Yeah.
Would this be considered like a masterpiece War for Cybertron Starscream? I mean, would you make that argument? I mean, it doesn't. No one has to really put a label on it, but I'm just curious in people's thoughts.
I would make the argument just because I don't know if you could really get a whole lot better. Like, I don't know if you could really get it to be more screen accurate.
But so would you say that it's a masterpiece, it's a Chuckster piece, or a mini masterpiece?
Well, it's definitely not mini because it's the same scale, and it's not necessarily Chug aesthetic. It's just I think again along the lines of MMC, it's sort of its own thing because it's following its own property source, and again as we've lost some of those source properties, we're not getting as much variation. I will say
nobody's excited for anything else. Nobody's like, oh, I really wish we had figures for these characters I love in the new comic. No one cares.
Yeah, the media right now is
I would
really
like
sad.
them.
Okay, one person would.
A couple people like the new characters.
Okay, 2 people's not going to keep a third party outfit afloat, you know?
No, it's not. I know.
And what's funny is like you're getting like totally new variations of things, like a giant Phoenix Starscream versus doing one of the comic book characters that maybe you never have gotten a toy before. Like no one's done Aileron yet, and yet
I know.
Making a Tiger Bumblebee toy.
Hey, Aileron's coming back again, so
yes, and I
have her in the fiction.
Mm-hmm. I hope she sees a toy.
Yes, me too.
To go back to your question of like the War for Cybertron Starscream there, like why is it masterpiece or not? And I think Paul has mentioned this before. Is that ultimate masterpiece is a line? It's a brand. Right. Takara Masterpiece is a brand. The only stuff that's masterpiece is stuff released in that brand, right? If you want to augment it, you can because some stuff is obviously explicitly made for it. But the reason why like MMC's Ocular Max stuff doesn't really fit in is because it's not masterpiece. It's MMC's Ocular Max, right? X-Transbots, whatever the hell they call their line, right? It's not masterpiece, but it does fit in really well. But I can tell the difference between an X-Transbots toy and a Takara toy. I can tell between fans' toys. They are each made their own way, and they have their own differences. But some of them, it's like, oh, well, they're like 90% fit together. Whereas like MMC is like, well, they 75% fit together, right? And so you keep
doing
sliding.
A blind taste test the next time I see you.
But yeah, so it's like they're each of their own line, and that's why, they don't really fit. And at the end of the day, you can put a toy wherever the hell you want on your shelf. Whatever makes you happy, I'm happy, right? It's all good. A lot of people forget that because they made a brand name a word that has other meanings, it's just kind of confused the language when we talk about it. And then people argue about it over the internet over stuff that's not important because it's fun and it's the internet.
Have we seen anything more from Lemon Tree?
No, not lately.
I got their Shockwave Purple Potato, which has a lot of neat stuff with it. The transformation kind of sucks, and I had a couple misassemblies on mine, and they said they would get me parts, and then that's been the end of it. I'm not going to get any parts. It's not going to happen. They responded.
I feel like they had a big list of toys they were going to make, and then after Purple Potato came out, it's just like, did COVID just eat them up?
Might have been.
I feel like Lemon Tree is somebody, and I don't know who. Like King Toys. King Toys has got to be like TFC, right?
Seems like it.
I feel like
at
one point I knew.
Didn't TFC do their own Predaking?
Yeah, but that was like years ago.
It was years ago.
Are all these third-party companies just Scooby-Doo villains where someone's just going to come and rape off their mask at some point?
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of Scooby-Doo villains, I did want to, because I always try to push us into talking about Legends a little bit, even though I'm the only person who collects them in the whole world.
Hey, I tried to kick that off with Legends, so please do.
I'm curious how I think is like crazy about Legends, right? Is like it started off years ago as like a really fun, like these fun fiddle toys that were like $20 a pop or whatever, right? then they like up the quality and all that, and they doubled the price, right? And
You
so,
know why?
like,
Because this incredibly influential podcaster kept calling them mini masterpieces. So they thought that they were making masterpiece figures and had to charge more and make them fancier. In other words, Lucas, you did it.
So
Your
anyway,
influence.
So hold on. So we got to like $40 a figure, but like the quality was really good. So like that was kind of like where they got me for a bit, right? But then now, like these, and not all the Legends figures are like this, but like a lot of these, New Age Legends are like $90 a pop. Like for, I think the Galvatron isn't it?
He's about 80.
Or 80. Okay,
75
whatever.
to 80, depending
But
on which
like,
paint job you want.
Jesus, like $80 for a Legends figure, just seems crazy to me. But
it's really good.
Yeah.
This is the only one I have from New Age. I only got like a couple of Legends. I have like 3 Legends, some third party. I have 2 of the eHobby mini bots that came out, like the white Bumblebee and the blue Cosmos. And I don't think anything else ever came out. But yeah, so then I got the Galvatron because he comes with the, his sphere for Galvacron. But it definitely is impressive for what they do.
Very
like
impressive.
It's really nice. It's all like a lot of it's painted. It looks really great.
But I
was just gonna say that the main companies seem to be mostly still distracted by putting out combiners. Like
that's where they are.
Magic Square.
It's a hook.
Magic Square put out their Minosaur, and it's like, okay, everybody's just kind of like, okay, it's a Minosaur. It's not that like super impressive, but people like it. The individuals were kind of dull, but the combined mode is really cool. And then New Age is putting out their Devastator at a pretty decent rate. But that thing's going to be like, I think it's going to cost about $400 to put the whole thing together.
But it has trumpets.
It has trumpets, and it's nice, and there's really nothing bad you can say about it other than, the parts forming is pretty intense for both the Magic Square and the New Age, but the New Age is worse on Devastator. But the price is just, like Lucas said, it's getting to the point where you can get a pretty neat third-party full-size Devastator for the same price as you can get this, like, mini masterpiece level Devastator. So.
And Zaldron just said in the chat, too, that he would have gladly downsized his collection to the Legend scale if it hadn't been for the price point. And I feel like if you were someone who was collecting Legends for a couple years and you were starting to replace your, I'm terrible at what size these are, but masterpiece scale toys with Legend toys, and all of a sudden the price point started to jump up on you like this. Granted, MP scale stuff has jumped up as well, but like the Legends thing is a much higher acceleration in price. I'd be pretty disgruntled.
And
what I
if
wonder
I could
is
start over, I would probably want just the Legends figures and chug. Like they do well to give you that like fancy figure, but then also the fun to play with figure, and you're done. Like that was good enough for me.
Again, so my experience is really limited. So the 2 mini bots I have, I think those are fine on this point. But like this guy, he's really complex. Like I didn't think he was honestly that fun, right? And so I wonder, like, not only people that were interested in Legends, like, oh, it's cheaper, and they might have some cool transformation gimmicks, but when I think small figure, I also think easy to transform and like a Fiddlebot on my desk. This is not a Fiddlebot. This Galvatron is not a Fiddlebot.
Almost no New Age is Fiddlebot. Like New Age is all complex, and they're very impressive in how they look in both modes. The amount of kibble, the amount of joints is not impressive. They look too noisy, but at the same time, like they're very impressive, but they're not good Fiddlebots. Magic Square is better if you get, especially the older Magic Square stuff, like Lucas was talking about. That's what we used to call the tiny Fiddlebots. Like they were just like cute little tiny things that were relatively simple, but still really, really good on articulation. It wasn't so much the look that was perfect, but it was the articulation. But I think New Age kind of ran off. And
so now if they cost 4 times what a retail figure costs, and they're very complex to not be like a fun Fiddlebot, like it feels like it pushed out 2/3 of the market, of reasons people were interested in it. It's like, well, if you're going to spend a bunch, might as well just get a masterpiece, especially if it's going to be so complex you don't want to transform it anymore.
So I was kind of cheeking. I was tongue in cheeky about Lucas's nickname of Mini Masterpiece, but I really think that's what happened. I think New Age saw that people were seeing their figures as masterpiece level impressive, and they ran with it. They said, we're going to engineer this thing until it does look like the masterpiece figure, and we're going to charge a price that's proportionate to if the masterpiece figure was little. And here we are with very expensive Legends figures. Although I do have some cheap Legends figures to mention in a minute.
Right, is it just like Iron Factory, New Age, and Magic Square still in that game? Is Iron Factory still doing G1?
No, Iron Factory kind of ran off in their own thing.
It's that samurai thing.
Yeah, they're still doing the samurai thing.
I will say that I feel like Iron Factory has been pretty consistent with like their price points. Like they haven't went out of control and whatnot. But they
were never cheap, but they're still not expensive.
Right. And but their aesthetic, like they kind of switched up their aesthetic recently to like kind of like that samurai look, whatnot. And then they're kind of applying it to the entire line. So if you like that, cool and whatnot. But
for the person that's for, it's fantastic. Whoever out there really likes those, I bet they're really excited. But one that stepped in recently that we never talk about and people hardly ever acknowledge is Dr. Wu. They started putting out I call them Legends Minus because they're like even smaller than Legends normally.
He's put out a couple tapes, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about their Legends figures.
Galvatron and Soundwave.
I can't reach them from where I'm sitting.
I don't know.
There's Optimus coming out too, I think.
Yeah, they're supposed to be compatible with like Titan figures or whatever.
Yeah, the idea is to make them look better with Titan figures, but Legends already looks good with Titan figures, so what's the point? But here's the Galvatron, Rob, for you.
Looks pretty cartoon accurate for that scale.
Yeah, there's Galvatron, and just to give you an idea of how big he is, here's a Micromaster that's on my desk.
Oh my goodness!
He's in the pooping pose. Yes, and the Soundwave, which I couldn't find because he's too small, is even smaller than this. And they're well articulated. They don't have ankle tilt or wrist swivel or anything, but they're really neat. They are just kind of being like, oh, core class, we'll show you core class. We're going to make tiny little things. But they're expensive still because it's $35 for two of these. Is that really expensive? Hard to say.
In today's economy?
Yeah.
But
yeah, they're doing a lot of these now. They've done an Optimus. They're doing a Blaster. They've done Soundwave. They're doing Beachcomber.
So they're just making a whole new line now. And
they're just putting these out.
Mini guys.
And they did sneakily announce their what's his face Slam Dance. They did sneak that out on us, just they showed a group shot and then he was just there, and that's going to be
I think that comes back to again something we were talking about earlier, Phil, and honestly you guys were talking about in the reveals last week. And so it sounds like Dr. Wu's hey, I think we found a lane to ourselves. Time to chug out all the A-listers again. Right.
Yep.
Here's the same characters yet again until we bleed that dry, and then it peters out. No relation. So you also mentioned
the
that
advantage that we didn't talk about with these scales is shelf space. For a lot of folks, space
and factory space.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so this is something that could give them a competitive advantage over some of their peers of again, it's a crowded space in the masterpiece scale. The chug scale, I feel who's doing chug scale besides Hasbro these days? They seem to own the market on that.
It'd be dumb to fight them on it. When they made Spiner Wars, they took over Chug. And third party said, never mind, you guys got it now.
Yeah.
People like to talk about DLC for their figures. These are definitely Titan DLC. These will probably look better on your Titans than my Legends do. I have my Legends all over my Titans, fighting them and playing with them and everything. But I think these guys would work better because in the end, if you look too hard, you realize how much more complex and detailed the Legends figures are than the Titans. And you're like, ooh, this looks kind of weird together. He looks right with them. because it's like, oh, he's tiny and not that articulated, but good enough.
So from what y'all said, that New Age and Magic Square are like doing a bunch of combiners right now. I feel like doing a bunch of combiners is like middle to late stage third party life.
Pretty much.
Chug started out, and then all of a sudden everyone's doing combiners, and then they all started doing the same combiners, and then then Chug started dying out because Hasbro started saying, "Oh, wait, we should be doing this, right?" And
because they're doing combiners and remakes, because they're doing Bumblebee and they're doing like Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper now.
It's mid to late stage third partyism, right, for their lane that they're fighting each other on, and like it happened in the Masterpiece too with X-Transbots, MMC, and Fans Toys. All of a sudden, we had various combiner wars, and like Fans Toys half did a bunch of combiners just to push other people out of the market. There was a lot of Minosaurs came out, and then now Unique Toys is dead, which I didn't buy a lot of Unique Toys, but I still think it's sad to see them go. I always thought they made really fun toys, if nothing else.
Yeah.
X-Transbots at least finished theirs. And they're starting a second one. I feel confident they'll finish. And then meanwhile, Fans Toys started to, and then just they're back to the drawing board to figure out how to finish it, right? So it's interesting. But the problem is, like, once you start a combiner, like, unless you're Fans Toys and you say, we'll come back to it later, right? It's like it consumes what they're doing. It's hard to do anything else.
And it consumes their buyers' budgets.
Yeah,
too.
like you've committed to 5 figures. You got to get those
At
5
least.
figures done. Because
5 figures plus junk.
Yeah, like I think Fans Toys is probably one of the few companies that could get away with it because they have such a fervent following of like, we may never complete them and people will still buy our other shit anyways.
And they'll still be chomping at the bit for that last one, that last thing. I can't wait for the final piece to come out for their Stunticons, and it sucks. And the accessories suck, and the combiner sucks as a whole, and Fans Toys fans eat themselves.
But will they admit that it sucks?
No, they won't admit that. While they are eating their friends and neighbors, they'll be like, "This is the best toy at Fans Toys."
No,
I like Fans Toys, but I call them out when they suck. I was a big fan of X-Transbots till the last 6 months, but I'm super stoked that Keith is doing all these oddball stuff. So I hope he turns it around.
What would be great is if Fans Toys at the end or whatever just releases the bits to make it a combiner as a separate set.
That would make everybody so mad.
And it's like an extra $200.
I don't want to do that. Especially if it's for Superion, I don't want to do that because that's my wallet. But it would still be hilarious. All the people bashing X-Transbots,
right,
would be up shit creek, right? Me, I'll just bitch about both of them. I own loyalty to nobody but myself. So,
Rob, I can't think of the X-Transbots Stunticons without thinking about you at TFCon holding, I think it was Dead End, and just I can't look at his chest without thinking it's electrical outlet.
Oh, yeah. That's his design. He is an electrical outlet.
You ruined that toy for me. His chest is an electrical socket.
Well, it shouldn't ruin it for anybody because he's an excellent figure and he's very fun to play with.
Yeah, it sounds like an upgrade, not a ruining. The electrical socket robot is fun.
Yeah, if they're on the battlefield and one of them's like, "Oh no, out of Energon," again and get a charge.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, I only have a European plug. Sorry.
So
what's
can I
next,
do
Anna?
one more company toy reveal? I only have one more. We're past an hour and a half, so I think we should finish off with the best company to ever arise is, of course, Big Firebird. Big Firebird just finally released pictures of their Nicey remold, which Rob makes that face because not only is it Nicey again, it's nobody. It's definitely not, as far as I know, that's not supposed to be any G1 or otherwise character.
It's more just the
pose.
pose. The face is because of the art and what is happening with it.
Right.
Past. The fact that those other things you said are true just compound it. But
yeah, and I'm sorry
that
for
could,
the art.
That could be
the poses they
RCG1,
do,
and I would have made the same face.
That's the other pose they showed. She has bunny ears, bunny ear head. That people were very, very excited about.
How can you see the bunny ears past anything else?
She's a race car this time, so.
So it's an actual remold, not just a.
Yeah, she's a remold.
figure.
The car looks quite a bit different. The toy itself doesn't really look different other than the head. and just the deco, instead of being not quite RC, it's just race car lady. And she's got the body ears to be even more not really great in that aspect. Sexualized. There we go. Objectified.
Bunch. So, to bring this back to kind of something we started off with, like, the what is third party, even though, you feel like we don't overly need to define it. If that toy hadn't started out as an RC thing, nobody would know about it. You wouldn't be here talking about it, I don't think. I mean, like, maybe you would have anyways, because you definitely do like to search in there, right? But I don't know that it would be on your radar. It definitely wouldn't be as well known as it is today.
It wouldn't be in the Transformers radar. Like, not only would you guys tell me I shouldn't talk about it on the show because you are punks, but you would also tell me it should be on the show because it's clearly not a Transformer, which, it kind of is. It's like Transformers cursory.
Yeah. It has some tangential lines just because of its history. I think the reason why some people don't want to talk about it at all is because, like, our audience probably also isn't going to care. I mean, honestly, I don't care about the audience. I don't care about talking to friends about whatever the hell we want to talk about. But if we talk about anything that isn't Transformers, then why do we have a subject on the show?
And I agree with that, except just from being on the Discord all the time, like a lot of our fans have nice E. Like a lot of people did get her, and a lot of people got her for the wrong reason initially. Then they heard reviews of people like me and Sideburn being like, my God, this is just a really, really freaking good toy. Like, she makes me a little uncomfortable, but she's so good at being a toy. And then people went out and bought her and were like, wow, she's really good. I just have to hide her from everyone in my life so no one judges me for owning her. And now we're going to get the same thing again.
I think Ron brings up a good point. He asked me, are there any more toilet or urinal third-party toys coming out?
Oh, yeah, Toy Wolf.
They're not third-party because they ain't based off of anything.
Oh, they're based off BotBots. They're BotBots Advanced.
I don't think that's accurate.
But
they're masterpiece BotBots.
Robert, Toy Wolf, tell us.
Was there ever?
I haven't heard anything, but
they were in a bathroom. Could that just be a Transformer that never transformed? He was that dedicated to his disguise, or he was just ashamed that the Ark made him Teletran 1 made him a toilet, so he just never transformed again.
I think there was a toilet in Robo Capers in the British comic.
Like,
I'm not saying it had to transform, but just at some point was there a scene where Decepticons were attacking a factory and there was a bunch of dudes in the bathroom and they ran out screaming as Blitzwing tore off the roof.
Yeah, the last we heard from Toy was their dog that transforms into a dog with a big cannon, and that hasn't come out yet. Like, I'm planning on passing on it because it doesn't turn into a receptacle for human waste. So, we'll have to see if they come up with anything else next later. But it's like, where the hell else am I going to talk about it? And I don't know if there's enough for, like, a Rob and Anna show to talk about other transforming figures that are neat and that we're interested in. But, like, Ouch My Wallet's a good place, right? For that.
You can talk about whatever. You can talk about your block dudes.
Why are you trying to constrain Anna to just ouch with her toys that she likes?
I'm not. I'm just saying.
That is what people do frequently, is try to be like, Anna, no. Ouch.
No, you don't, Anna. No, you don't, because you are always bitching about be on topic. The topic of the show is Transformers.
Transformers is an all-inclusive world of love and kindness.
No, Anna has to be on topic unless it's her, like,
it's not converting robots. It's Transformers.
Yeah.
Whereas Ouch My Wallet isn't Transformers. It's mostly Transformers, but it's what did you buy? That's the subject. That's why it's a good spot. But, none of us feel like hosting it anymore.
It's a good spot that no one wants to be in charge of.
Yeah. I'll probably host again someday.
Do it. I got so much to show off.
Actually,
that's
we
part of the
just
problem.
need to do a Peter edition. Although your Infinity Closet
I would get some internet
drop,
hits. Peter edition
last week. So.
Oh, the closet's so full of stuff. God.
It's supposed to be the house full of stuff now.
I've got to a point that Anna made earlier. You don't want to have a so-and-so mixed with a so-and-so, so you mix them and move them and all that stuff. I've got a classics room. I'm sitting in it. It's not set up yet. There's a masterpiece room It's over there. It's not set up yet. There's the Gen 1 room. It's up there. It's not set up yet. And then there's going to be like a GoBots display, a Machine Robo display, a Masters of the Universe display, a Mask display, a G.I. Joe display. And it's going to be sickening. And I don't want to see repeat toys from room to room. So you got to have, if you're going to have, can't have that. So if you're going to have 14 Galvatrons, there's a canonical way to do a bunch of Masterpiece Megatrons all in one display, and that's the Megatron core. That's the manga from 2010. Yeah, when Galvatron made 6 Megatron clones, and you can put all your Megatron masterpieces together in a display by themselves, and it's canonical. It works.
And then you make them kiss.
Yes, please.
Like another reason why I wouldn't host Ouch is because I don't have anything. I haven't gotten anything since Masterpiece Starscream.
I'm going to steal the slot for a little while to talk about comic books.
I mean, that's the trouble kind of that I have too. Like I've had a few new things come in, but I don't know. We need to just have we could have the Anna branded show where she just goes on about whatever thing from China that she got in a random box, and then
I think maybe next week if we can get someone to host Ouch, I'll be getting a very Ouch worthy item this weekend.
Oh, there you
2021 PF Con exclusive. I will be obtaining.
Just remember, I never announced it, but we're going to do a few Wednesdays of talking about Shattered Glass during the Ouch portion of our night. So,
I guess that's
we're
the
going to do a short
announcement.
show on
Is that soon?
Wednesday, actually. Wednesday. I just haven't announced it yet because I don't have permissions to the YouTube that I need to get from you.
You just did.
When?
Yes, I did.
So did the comic already come out or no?
The comic comes out Wednesday. So
Tomorrow. Is tomorrow the first issue? I'm sorry, 2 days from now, the first issue?
Yes, that's the first issue.
Wait,
we're gonna
you're doing a show on like when it comes out?
The
Like, are you
day it
reading
comes out.
Are you
That's
like
right.
really reading it on the show or what?
We're gonna do a live
It's a 20
Now,
voices.
a dramatic reading of Shattered Glass.
No, we're all
with
going to
TFYLP.
download it that morning. We're going to read it before we do the show, and we're going to talk about our gut reactions. It's going to be
Me,
fun.
Optimus Prime, mean. Me, Megatron, good and nice and story brand new.
My whole idea towards doing the Shattered Glass comic show is so that we can talk about it right when it comes out, so the people who are on the edge of should they buy it before they get the toys, because the toys are just coming out a few weeks after the issues are actually hitting comic stores, so we can help people answer the question, should I bother buying a second issue and getting it early, or should I just wait for my darn toy? And
The
read it
answer
then?
is
Or should I
buy
never
all
read
the
it?
toys. Buy all the toys, buy all the comics, and don't like most of it. Problem solved.
People definitely want to tune in for that. That'll be fun. That's different for us to do something timely. Like,
Yeah, I
we're
know,
very
it's
rarely we do some timely stuff here on Mondays, but not always.
It'll be me and Christian and Serge and Nick.
Well, when some of this X-Transbox crap that we've talked about today finally materializes, maybe I'll be inclined to host Ouch My Wallet for a night or two. But right now, all I got some Ninja Turtle stuff that I don't think anybody cares about, really.
So the show that you're talking about, Anna, is that going to be at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central?
On Wednesday night.
On Wednesday night, okay.
Our
This
normal
week.
slot.
Cool.
Yes, we were advertising it together. We were putting the time together and piecing it
Woo.
like a team. It was great.
Got
Good
it.
job, Buzz. Pat on the back.
So, and then
speaking
are
of-
we still going to have a Microcasters then on Thursday?
Yep, I'm just gonna podcast too much this week
There
and
you
have
go.
my first week of classes. And this weekend I'm just gonna sleep. That'll be all right.
It's exciting. So, there will
before-
be a
before
cut
we-
to tape too, coming out this week. Rick sent it to me last weekend, but I was out of town, so.
Real quick before we leave, just out of curious, did anybody else get a bunch of stuff last week? Like, I feel like a big shipment of crap came over from China because I got all my Super 7 Ninja Turtle stuff and 2 shipments of NECA stuff, like that I ordered from NECA, like within 3 days. And, my wife's kind of like, what's all this? And I'm like, I ordered all this stuff at different times months and months ago. And it's just funny it all showed up once, like, that had to come over on the same boat.
This all happened same time, not this time last year, but everything dropped beginning of December last year. Like June, September, October, pre-orders all landed in December.
So no, it's just kind of funny,
Yeah.
Like it used to be much more transparent pre-pandemic, Like I feel like that's how things are shipping more. They're going more in batches as they're still trying to catch up. Apparently they're all super duper backed up with everything, all the things.
Yeah, there's a ton of shipping issues that are getting worse.
And like, aren't they worried somewhere like that? They're kind of worried about Christmas, about getting,
Yes.
whatever their big thing is out on the shelves. And
I told my son this weekend, pick your Halloween costume by the end of this week because we need to order it now.
yeah.
So, Rob, is there a new turtle van or something that's 6?
Yeah, there is as Antoine was bringing up, it looks to be like a third-party turtle van, right? We've had third-party turtle stuff before. We've got a shredder and a crank, and
Yep.
and then
And they were great.
Yeah, they're stylized, but they're very good for what they are.
Yep.
But yeah, that scaled turtle van's cool. I question what they're doing though, because NECA and Super 7 have both. Well, especially NECA said like we have one design, and we're working on like it. I think that thing's going to come out for sure. I think Super 7 is probably going to do like their pre-order thing, and like if it gets enough sales, we'll do it like they did with the Thunder Tank. Like, that's where I see that going. But this one may beat everybody to the punch, and it looks really nice, for what it is. So I know it's interesting. It's y'all were talking on the show last week, and I know I'm rambling, but I'm going to do it. Y'all were talking on the show last week about how, or 2 weeks ago about the impact of the movie, and it's like one of the big things that killed Transformers was Ninja Turtles, and it's funny because Transformers was only on the air for like 3 years in the States, right? And then Turtles was on the air for 10 years. 10 years of new cartoons. That's insane. We've never had a Transformer cartoon go anywhere near that. But it doesn't have the fandom at all. Like, even remotely, like we didn't have dominated third-party toys. There's not big Ninja Turtle conventions and a bunch of Ninja Turtle fan conventions going on, right? Like, we don't have any of that stuff. So I don't know. There's something special with Transformers.
I mean, this could be a topic, but I feel like Transformers is something that like you don't feel the urge to grow out of as much as you do the other like big cartoons and toy lines. Like
because it's puzzle toys.
Maybe every kid generation for a while has had a Ninja Turtles cartoon. Like it's been redone and still kid appealing, and then just like after you finish with childhood, you walk away from your Ninja Turtles, which is tragic because they're fun.
I mean, I don't know. I think that there was a resurgence of Turtles like a couple years ago, and I feel like a lot of people, got like collectors got those. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's had 2 big major motion pictures in the last 5 years. So there's
Favors Turtles.
Yes. Megan Fox included.
But like it's still nothing like Transformers. Like kind of what I think applies to the show tonight is no one's going to have, hey, let's talk about the third-party Ninja Turtles, because there's 2, and there's a third thing maybe now coming out, right? Like it doesn't exist. Now, if you want to get into vintage knockoff Turtles, oh man, that is a deep hole. That is it's like He-Man, Master of the Universe knockoff vintage stuff. That stuff's been bootlegged out the ass, and it's pretty fun. But that you can't have a third-party conversation about any other toy line that I know of. Doesn't mean they're not there. That's a Transformer specialty. Why?
That's true.
That's probably a different topic, as Anna said. But it's interesting. Like Ninja Turtles killed Transformers, but Transformers is way bigger than Ninja Turtles will ever be and ever could hope to be.
It was funny today with a similar toy line. Mattel announced their 3 new Street Sharks action figures, to which one of my text chains were like, who cares this much about Street Sharks? I was shocked to realize that cartoon ran for 3 years. So that cartoon ran for as many years on the air as Transformers did.
You know why? Because it's Jawsome. That's why.
It is awesome. I don't know. Masterpiece Big Slamoo just sounds like a good figure to have on my shelf.
I did see online the rollerblade Street Shark. Someone made a custom of it out of the DC Universe Classics King Shark figure, which is a $200+ action figure, and they made a really nice custom out of it. I was very confused about how to feel about this because it's a line that I don't care about. Customs that I normally don't care about. This one looked really nice, but they used an expensive toy to make the custom from. So I was very, very confused at how to feel.
Here's the thing, Phil. Like you said, like Street Sharks, like this feels obscure, but then two of your castmates instantly made Street Sharks references the moment you mentioned them.
Yeah.
However, though, that's the only Street Shark reference I can make.
I know a lot of Street Shark references. I really like Street Sharks.
Not only did I find out the show lasts for 3 years, but it had a spin-off with Extreme Dinosaurs, and the leader of the Extreme Dinosaur good guys was a T-Rex, and the leader of the Extreme Dinosaur bad guys was a Raptor. And guess who voiced the leader of the Extreme Dinosaur bad guys? Gary Chalk. So Gary Chalk was fighting a T-Rex on 2 different shows in the 90s.
That's funny. Like those 80s cartoons can go because they were
90s. These were 90s cartoons.
Oh, wow. Hello, Cat.
They ran 94 to 97. If Wikipedia is accurate.
Okay. That's interesting.
I was going to mention book club this week is going to be Sunday night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern on the TF Talk Discord. This week they're doing More Than Meets the Eye issues 45 and 46.
Yeah, we finished Sins of the Wreckers. Thank goodness.
Didn't y'all read those out of order?
We didn't read Last Stand, or Anna didn't.
Right, we didn't go back and read Last Stand, but we were reading things chronologically. So it's just like, got to read it with no attachment to the characters. Made it a little different.
How do you have context for Sins of the Wreckers without reading Last Stand?
Because the main plot of Sins is actually following from RID. Like, what's happening there is actually from RID. It's just the Wreckers come in. So it made sense. It's just I didn't have attachment to the Wreckers characters. That's fine. I guess without spoilers, it was another Prowl story.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but it's the only Prowl story with a giant blue whale transformer.
It is. Oh, I would love to have that as a toy. Oh.
Yeah. I think I read that on the airplane and was just like, that's pretty awesome.
I thought people were just joking around about like releasing a tidal wave but making it a well. Like, I thought that was just a joke. I didn't realize that happened in a comic, but good grief, I would be all over that.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up here before we go, like,
yes.
Wait, we're still on?
Yeah. X-Transpons has some really cool stuff. They're getting a lot of niche stuff out, which is great. It seems Combiners have died off in the third-party world other than what people is, what's going on. But maybe there's more coming out. There's still a lot of Combiners to do. That's really what the gap is now, Lucas.
Other than Legends. Legends Combiners.
Correct. Sorry, I'm talking about the Masterpiece stuff. Yeah, you're correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would like them to see. I hope we see more Masterpiece Combiners coming out, but I'm not sure, especially with Unique Toys or DX9 or whatever it was being squeezed out. Or maybe Takara will finally figure out how to do it with Raiden and can start running with it, because I still would like a better Masterpiece Devastator. But we'll see.
I think the thing I want to end with tonight is that Nice C is not a toy that I would buy, but I'm glad to see toys like that in Eris coming out, because I'm glad to see some other ideas and other companies doing this and seeing something different coming out. I feel some of the Transformers main lines have gotten a little stale, so it's nice to see both new designs and new engineering, and that's something that third party brings that other, we're not always getting from mainline Hasbro stuff.
Phil, you stole my thunder with final thoughts, because I was going to say something very similar, except for the fact that I do like Nicey and I do have her and I will get her friend. But I really do like seeing these kind of Transformers adjacent things coming around, because for me, I can get just as excited about new designs as I can about like original designs. Like there are some Transformers I'm really waiting for. Like when we get a Road Caesar of some sort that I feel like I can buy, because the TFC one kind of turned me off. I will be super excited. But in the meanwhile, the Magical Henshin Girls was amazing to me. I really like looking at the Kane Toys stuff. Nicey is super neat. So all these original-ish ideas are super cool. And I'm glad that people are embracing them and they're getting to sell them. They're getting to sell their original ideas so that, Paul can stop calling third parties IP thieves.
I mean, Paul's going to have his opinion and we're all going to disagree with it, and as we
know.
all should.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that, I like to create a shelf or like a little world or whatnot of some of those figures. So, like, I don't want, one off or whatnot. I want like a whole thing, a line. So if it's like the Unrestable Bastards, where you could get like 8 of them, and then they had a couple other repaints and whatnot of it, or like even though these Nicey figures are not for me, the fact that they're kind of playing off the first one and then releasing a whole line of those, I think that's pretty cool too. So Catherine also brings up that by nature of the Transformers being a species, she says that any transforming robot toy that is not designated to be to another franchise that you can put into your third-party collection. So
that sounds racist, but
they're just from another planet. That's basically what she's getting at.
I would say that since Paul says that third party is IP thieves, that if you actually do something unique, that you wouldn't want to be designated as third party. So.
And I forgot to mention that people often ask about the big Firebird Windblade. From what I've heard, it's going to end up, if it does ever come out, it's going to go the same direction Nicey, and it won't be Windblade anymore. It'll be its own person. So it'll be a friend for the girls you don't like.
Maybe they can go clothes shopping together
Or
and actually buy clothes.
Because they don't have any. Was that your joke?
Yes. They're naked robots.
Yeah. I don't know. I personally, I just want more Chucksterpiece myself, so...
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, for me, like, the MMC reformat of Planet X is the third-party stuff that I still collect, so I like to see, more of that, but I'm okay if Rung is one of the last ones. But at the same time, like that Optimus that MMC released was really good. So I'd love to see some more figures like kind of in that same, style.
I want more like the Optimus to come out just because I think that provides money for more obscure releases that don't sell as well. And I want to see the IDW stuff keep going.
Yeah,
but
I would too.
But it's dying off.
We say IDW,
it's grown. The no new fiction, it's kind of dying off.
We're referring to More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light to just be certain. We're not talking about whatever.
Milne. Just give me toys of Milne.
Yes. So. All right. Well, thank you to you guys for joining us tonight, and thanks to everyone in the chat. That commented. So Catherine and Zaldron, Ron, Antoine, Paul.
Thank everybody else except him.
Daniel. Who else did I miss?
Oh, there was a lot of chat tonight. I think you hit the highlights.
Yeah. So I think I hit most of the people. I apologize.
Thank you so much.
But yeah,
thanks everybody for joining in.
So
thanks for talking about third party. See you in 9 months when we're allowed to do it again.
there you go. Well, maybe we'll talk after if TFCon happens, and
if anybody reveals anything.
Yeah, that's true. So
it's going to be a virtual reveal stream.
So. We're going to live stream PulseCon at TFCon.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. PulseCon's at the same weekend, isn't it?
Same weekend, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that feels purposeful.
I was going to mention there's a Fan First Friday for Transformers this Friday.
Let's say go.
Yes. So Star Saber I think may be revealed there. So we'll see.
Is that the next HasLab we think, or
No,
Yeah.
the next HasLab kind of got leaked / somewhat announced as the Rancor monster
It's
just
the
today.
Rancor.
so? Then what is Star Saber? Is that HasLab
Nice
or is that,
HasLab.
It's also a
HasLab.
HasLab.
oh, it is
Not
okay.
the next HasLab.
It might be later. Like,
Got it.
they're. I don't want to throw out rumors.
Got it.
Bye, everyone.
Anyway, thanks guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.